Welcome to Old Guy Tech,
the OGT.TV recording studio.
Technology for the rest of us.
Coming in, and I've had an opportunity to talk to a lot of people out in our county about, how are things going? How do you feel about the direction of law enforcement? And in my concealed weapons class, and I teach one every month, I had a really odd thing happen, and there's some confusion within the department, and there's some confusion within the people that are applying for CCWs that has taken place basically just recently. And those are the two things that have happened. Is one is proof of ownership of the firearm. Second is that the firearm must be registered to you, and basically also said that your spouse and yourself could not have the same weapons on the CCW. Those all of a sudden popped up again, which to my knowledge is old policy and not new policy. So can you let those people out there, let them know really what the policy is of the Sheriff's Department for concealed weapons permits?
The policy is as long as it's not stolen,
right,
and you want to put it on your CCW, that's fine. That's perfectly appropriate. There was a hiccup in the agency. Apparently, and I just found out today, I'd heard from you a couple days ago, and I said, no, that's not the policy. And I went around and checked, and apparently we were starting to ask those and require that. It's fixed.
Good.
As of today, that's fixed. There were some leftover parts from an old policy that were still laying around on a couple desks. The new policy doesn't have any of that on there. We've talked about this before. Even if a firearm isn't registered, when you put it on your CCW, it becomes a de facto registration.
Exactly.
Because that's reportable, not reportable, it's reported.
Yeah, it's on
DOJ.
a list. Yeah,
absolutely.
And once they type it in, if it's stolen, it'll pop up.
That's right.
So.
That's right. So, I completely understand the whole registration issue. Quite frankly, if you have a firearm that's not legally required to be registered, why would you register it?
Exactly.
There's no need for it. So, sorry for the confusion.
Yeah.
I take full responsibility.
Well,
but we fixed it today.
Well, that's why we work as a team. That's why I talk to you. Hey, when somebody comes to me with something, I go to the John, and he says, "Hey, let's check into this," and you did that. And so again, you guys out there that are watching, be rest assured the policy has not changed. There was a little hiccup. Thank you for letting me know. If you don't feel comfortable calling the sheriff, always call me, because John and I are open door. We'll talk to each other as many times as we need to make that sure that if there is any kind of question, we get it answered. And that's the beauty about living in El Dorado County, folks. It's our sheriff, and John, you're just doing a fantastic job. And yeah, absolutely. And anytime anybody has a question, I've given your email and your phone number to a number of people saying, hey, just call him. He won't mind talking to you, and people are just like, they go, really? I said, yeah, absolutely. He's a regular guy. Don't worry about it. So don't ever be afraid to, but if you have any questions, and I'll be glad to talk to John about that. So we're really good with those issues. So, by the way, if you want to call in, we're here to take your questions at 530-621-1210, 621-1210. Give us a call. If you have any of those questions, I know there's some of you out there that do have some burning questions you'd like to ask John. I know you may be shy a little bit, but what the heck? You don't have to give us your real name. You can call yourself something else if you want to. I got another question that popped up, which is interesting, that I thought we need to define also, and that happens to do with CCW holders on school grounds. California Penal Code actually exempts those that have a CCW permit. In other words, the exemption is that they can carry on a school. Are you aware of any changes in that?
In the law?
Yeah, or anything on your side as far as El Dorado County goes?
We no longer... prior to me taking office, it was on the one of the agreements on your license that you will not carry on school grounds.
Right.
We took that off there because it's a legal exemption under the law. It used to be 626.9 They changed all of the.
Yeah, they did. All of
the
them are new.
2600s now, or whatever they are.
Right.
I don't know for sure exactly which code it is now, but it's still an exemption.
Right.
And the exemptions fall under the code section that said it's unlawful. It's still unlawful to or it's unlawful to possess here. It's unlawful to possess there. It's unlawful to possess in this place, unless you are a valid CCW holder.
Right.
And that is one of the exceptions.
Right.
So we took that off of that because it's a legitimate exception already in the penal code.
Right. Right.
The law is the law. That's what we're tasked with, and
Sure.
that's how we look at it.
Good. That was another concern that some of the people had, and I told them again, it's in penal code. I don't know how we could change that.
But I also, I want to stress,
right.
Concealed is concealed.
Right.
God forbid you should, somebody sees you on school grounds with a firearm. There's going to be questions that are going to be asked.
Oh, yeah.
Just that responsibility, and CCWs, they understand, or holders, they understand that responsibility.
Right.
So
Well,
just keep it in mind.
in my teaching, I talk about printing, and that, for those of you out there who don't know about it, that's like if your clothes are so tight that it's fitting on the holster, you know exactly what's there. Right. And so you got to make sure you don't print. It's like John said, it's concealed. And one of the examples I use is a guy who was at a grocery store, had a short T-shirt on, bent over to get something down on the floor. The gun was exposed. There was a little old lady there, and she literally went screaming. I mean, so you don't want to have to explain.
Right.
You don't want to be that person to have to explain that, oops, I made a mistake.
We live in a very conservative Second Amendment constitutional loving county, but there are still those people. Folks that become very uncomfortable when they see that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If I see somebody that's obviously carrying, and they're not robbing the liquor store,
right,
I know that they're one of the good guys.
Right.
That's how I look at it.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So
to have a concealed weapons permit, you have to be one of the good guys.
Yeah.
So we assume
and that's good. I mean, there was 720, right at 720 when I took office. We have over 2,000 now.
Yep.
And there's not major crime. There's not.
They're not running amok.
There's not shootouts on the corners. No.
There's no zombie killers running around doing their stupid thing.
Honest, law-abiding citizens.
Yeah. How are we doing on processing? Now, I've always told everybody 90 days now. Are we still looking at that?
I still hold that 90 days.
Okay.
We're doing much better.
Right.
We came up with, God bless our stars again. I think we've talked about it on the show. The stars have stepped up and are helping where they can in the CCW process as far as moving the files along. I think they're helping with some of the interviews. So they've helped cut down that time frame. Good. But I still recommend 90 days. Because DOJ is also one of the big hang-ups, and they can't take literally 90 days.
Oh yeah.
DOJ.
Well, and I tell people, look, don't get upset at this, because if you happen to have applied for a job that requires a background check at the same time that you're doing your CCW, and then you're also buying a firearm, your file is who knows where, and it could be delayed. I've seen it. It can be delayed a long time.
But doesn't that just tick you off too, though? Because it should be an instant check, right?
I know. It should be.
It should be as easy as send it in and boom, we get it back.
Yeah, it should be. But California has a problem with their computer system too.
Oh, yes, they do.
And unfortunately,
the whole apps program.
And not all of the records are in there. I mean, I'm still hearing from people that I could pull a file. What do you mean you got to pull a file? It says it's not in the system yet.
Right.
So,
right.
That
brings up a good topic, and we're freeform.
Oh, absolutely.
Right?
This is just.
I'd like people to be aware that we're able to do, and I'm able to do what I do in El Dorado County, because I do follow the law.
Right.
And obviously very constitutionally, I follow the law.
Sure.
There's some guns out there that people need to be made aware of, because a lot of people, I think, not a lot of people, there are some people that are falling into this trap, and it has to it has to do with the 80% lower issue.
Okay.
If you're in the market to buy a firearm and you're shopping around and somebody sells you or offers to sell you a firearm, mostly they're the AR-15 style or the M4 style,
right,
and it doesn't have a brand and a serial number on it, folks, walk away. walk away, because we are finding there are a lot of these. There's a lot of people out there that are misinformed, because you can buy the 80% lower, which is it's just a mold, a casting, a
Right.
forging that's 80% finished.
Right.
There's no legal requirement to have that registered or anything. It's not done yet.
Right. It's not that
But
gun yet.
for with minimal machining experience
Right.
and the correct plans, you can finish that gun.
Right.
Now you can do it as a private party legally. You're allowed to do those for yourself up to so many. I would check with ATF and double check on that. But there are some people out there that are taking it to the next level, and they're mass producing these 80% lowers. And
So they're becoming manufacturers.
They're becoming manufacturers, and they're not. These are not. This is. We don't want to give the other side a reason
Right.
to make us look worse
Then we
than
are.
they try
That's
to,
right.
than
That,
they
then
try
what
to.
they
We're
think.
not bad,
Right.
but they take these opportunities and these issues
They look
and
for-
make us look bad. So if you see that, if you're comfortable turning somebody in, that's fine. But if not, just walk away, because you don't need that headache.
Right.
These firearms are unlawful to possess.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
So it's not. I don't want to say it's a big issue, but it's an issue that is out there.
That's
and
interesting.
I've been hearing more about it lately in the last probably 6 months than I have in my entire career. And it's just an issue that I think needs to be addressed.
Yeah, I've been listening to that too. So what's your opinion on the printer that can actually make a firearm?
Well, again, as long as you're not a manufacturer and you're doing it for yourself, there's a legal way to do that.
Right.
You can do that. Once you get into manufacturing and you're selling, they need to be registered.
So yeah, so even as an individual though, if you manufacture a gun, is there not an obligation to have it registered, a serial number or anything?
No,
There's none.
No,
huh?
I believe that there is actually an exemption for that as a personal. I'm going to build. Let's say. Well, I do. I love the target shoot.
Sure.
And I've always wanted to say, okay, I want to get a nice, hard, strong forging based on a Remington or a Mauser or something.
Sure.
And build a nice target rifle.
Rifle. Right.
You can do that
Sure.
legally.
Sure.
You can do that. It doesn't need to be serialized. Doesn't need to be branded. You can't sell it.
Right.
And it's yours and only yours.
Most of the time though, those lowers already have a serial number on them.
Not the 80%.
Well, not the new 80%, but if you take a Mauser action, like you were talking about,
That kind.
or Remington
Well,
action,
I'm
or something
talking.
like
I'm talking even before that. Before it's serialized.
Okay,
It's
all
just
right.
a rough casting or a rough forging.
Okay, all right.
Or billet or whatever.
Yeah,
piece
yeah.
of steel, and you manufacture a very, very close, tight tolerance, and with new
Sure.
CNC machines and the toolings we have today,
Absolutely.
it's actually legal. And I know it. I just had a conversation with an ATF agent, probably a month or two ago, about that, and he said, no, you can still. That's the problem. You can do that, but when you start selling them,
That's
or
a
even
different
giving
story.
them away,
Right,
that's a different story. Then
Right.
you become a manufacturer.
right.
So
Yeah, you have
It's
to be
just an
careful. Right, right.
it's an issue.
It's an issue.
It's becoming an issue, I should say.
Well, we used to. Two of my main hunting guns have all been custom tuned. Barrels turned down, actions tightened, special coatings put on. I go the gambit when I do
But you
it.
still got the original serial.
But I still have the
part.
original receiver, and
Right.
nothing's changed with that, so that's still there. So I'm perfectly legal, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
So let me ask you on an opinion that's, God, I almost hate to talk about this because I know the antis could use it against us, but let's talk about it because they probably know already. Off-registered guns, off-list guns. For those of you who don't know, in California, any manufacturer wants to bring in a gun to California, a handgun, it must be run through an independent laboratory and pass what's called a safety test or drop test. Everybody's got a different name for it. And what's happened is there's certain requirements that California has on a handgun. It must have a magazine disconnect and it must have a chamber indicator. Okay, those are the two major issues they're looking for. And if they don't have them, they won't pass California's test. So what's happening now is that some of the stores have invented a way of making, which is exempt from the list, a single-shot, 10-inch barreled gun out of, let's say, Kimber Solo. Let's just bring that up. What they do is they sell it. They have a 10-inch barrel for it. They only have a magazine that holds 1 round, and they sell it to you. Okay. Now, technically, that's legal because that gun doesn't have to be on roster. So what happens is, now you've owned this gun. You've left the store and you own this gun. You can literally do anything you want to your own gun. So what you do, or what has been happening is, they've gone back into the store and said, you know, I'd still like to have my little 3-inch, I'd like to have, not mine, I would like to have a 3-inch barrel and a 10-round magazine for this gun. Can you help me with that? Store goes, absolutely, no problem. Here's a barrel and a magazine for that gun. And now, basically, you have an off-roster gun. The gun has been registered to you by serial number and make, and now you can possess it. Have you heard of that?
Not in that manner, no.
Yeah.
No.
Well, that's what's going on. So what's happened is, and it's all legal because you've registered the gun, you've done the DROS, you've waited your 24-hour period. The gun is reported as serial number, manufacturer, and caliber. I don't know if the new DROS form has barrel length. I don't think it does. I've never seen it before. But anyway, the theory is, or the thought is that once you own that gun, that's your gun, you can do anything you want to it. It's like customizing a 1911, putting a new muzzle in or putting a muzzle brake on.
Yeah, but I mean, there's even limits to that, though. You can't make it fully automatic.
No, agreed. We're not going something as crazy as full automatic. I mean, basically what we're doing is we're taking the gun and just
let's go back to the root of the problem. What's the problem?
California's
roster list, right?
Right.
And I understand Glock is suing California right now.
You know, NRA has been working diligently with Glock to get them to stand up to do it. Glock fought wanting to sue California for a long time.
I understand they filed.
Okay.
From what I've heard they
filed. And that's what needed to be done. And from what Glock told me, here's the reason why. The only Glock gun that's legal in California is the Gen 3s.
Right.
Gen 4s are out now. And they're looking at Gen 5s out in the next, 3 to 5 years. To stay that Gen 3, to stay on roster, one, they have to pay every year a fee to Department of Justice to keep that gun on roster. So they're being blackmailed, first off the bat there. Second, they're not going to keep tooling up for Gen 3s any longer. They want to move forward. Those new guns will not pass the California
because they don't
so-called
have a
test.
magazine disconnect.
They will not have a magazine disconnect.
Which is dangerous.
Absolutely dangerous.
Dangerous. You can't engage an assailant if you're changing magazines.
No, it's totally wrong.
That's why law enforcement doesn't have guns with magazine disconnect.
Exactly. And why should we? I mean,
absolutely.
So I'm glad to hear that they finally filed. I'm hoping to get.
That's what I heard. I read.
I would really like Sam Paradas to give us a call. I don't know if Sam's watching the show today or not, but he'd be the person who would probably tell us. Or Tom Peterson. What do you got, Jonathan?
Information. It's the lawsuit. It's
You good? Good.
You want to see it's Glock files amicus brief supporting SAS
okay.
California case.
Okay. So
Okay.
they filed in the friend of the court.
All right.
In the
So if you want to
in the
set up, you can read
suit.
it or not, but
In the
here's
suit. Let's see
In
if I
the
can.
suit. So they actually didn't. They're not the ones filing the suit. Well, it's
Okay.
good. I mean, it's if we can, like we've talked about before.
Yes.
We need to start going on the offense and quit being on the defense. And if things like this, we can start going on the offense and fixing, like the micro stamping.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's not going to help us.
Well,
It's
and
going to help law enforcement be able to solve
right.
crimes. Baloney. It's not going to help us.
Oh, yeah, it's the example of you go to a range, you pick up those if it imparts a serial number, which we know that more than likely it's not going to be readable, and see the scene with it.
It's going to take. It would take 500 years.
Yes.
Or longer, because you're always going to have these guns that are not microstamped.
That's
Do you
right.
think a crook going to use a microstamp?
And then my question is, do you have to register a firing pin then too? What, Jonathan? Did you? What? Oh, okay. Yeah. So I mean that was my thought. Okay, so microstamping on a firing pin. my firing pin breaks. Now I got to register and wait 10 days for a firing pin. I mean, it's ridiculous. And do you know the status? Is this because supposedly, according to our Attorney General, it's supposedly law now.
That's what the last time we talked, she put out the opinion that, well, it had always been the law,
But there was a
pending the
patent.
the patent
Patent
issue of
issue.
being able to do it.
Right.
And she says, nope, it's beyond that. We do have a patent. It's an issue. We can do it. So therefore, it's the law. But nobody's
don't know.
doing it.
Yeah, I don't know anybody. I know no manufacturers willing to do it. And so I'm saying, how are we still selling handguns in California? If you're a dealer out there and you know this law, 621-1210, please give us a call because we need some definitions on some of this stuff. I don't know. So we've got all these stupid, you know, when you and I talked, this was before Jerry Brown made his decision on some of this stuff. Yeah. And surprisingly enough, he actually did what you and I thought he might do. He did veto some of the bills.
Split the baby.
Yeah, he really did. So you were right on. You're exactly what you thought was going to happen. The only issue that still is stupid is the non-lead bullets for hunting, because there's no substitution. Now it goes to 2014, 2015. It goes out a ways.
19 is when the final is.
But 19 is when the final is. Yeah. So what are we going to do? Nobody has an answer. Yeah.
I don't know. And, you know, I went in, there was a group of sheriffs that went in and met with one of the governor's staffers towards the end here when they were all on his desk. He didn't have time to meet with us, and I understand that. He had one of his head chief staffers meet with us. Real nice lady. I can't remember her name. And we went over every one that was on his desk and why we opposed it.
Right.
Right. State sheriffs, we did get state sheriffs as a main organization to stand up and oppose 4 of them, one of which was 374, one was the magazine one, a couple other ones. I believe 7-Eleven may or may not have been one of the ones that state sheriffs opposed. But anyway, a group of us sheriffs, I believe there was, 8, 9, 10 of us in the room.
Right.
And we went over every one of them and why we adamantly opposed them.
Right.
And you know, 7-Eleven, and it's another one of those things. Well, it doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
That's what the people.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't affect me. Well, why should I worry? It's only lead hunting ammunition, lead hunting bullets, lead for hunting or hunting. Well, there's a reason we use lead, because it is the most efficient, effective way of making a humane kill
Right.
on a game animal.
Absolutely.
And harvesting that animal. It's the most effective, efficient. The science behind it is absolutely 100% completely flawed. I
Right.
guarantee you it's
Right.
a bunch of, and I've said it before and I'll say it here, it's a bunch of BS. Some of the propaganda that they are putting out there that just makes me sick that people would even believe this. There's actually a video of a bald eagle feeding on an elk carcass.
Right.
That supposedly was shot with a lead bullet.
Right.
And a few hours later, they show this eagle, and it's staggering around and can hardly move, and it's dying because it ate the lead-infused meat around where it was shot.
It doesn't work that way, folks.
It does not work that way. Absolutely
Does
not.
not.
And beyond that, if that was the case, if lead was so detrimental and deadly and everything else, I'd been dead a long, long time ago.
Well, you and me both.
I've shot a lot of quail, pheasant, chucker, pigeons, doves with lead shotgun ammunition.
Yep.
Can't shoot waterfowl with lead anymore, but you
No.
can still shoot upland game.
That's true.
That game.
Right.
And I've eaten a lot of pellets, chewing on it and go, oh, shoot, go to find it, you've already swallowed it.
Yeah.
I'd have been dead a long time ago, you know?
I know. It's just...
I just don't get how they can sleep with themselves, how they can live knowing that they're perpetuating a complete, absolute fraud.
It's the indoctrination that comes through our universities. They tend to be, very anti anything that has to do with guns, and if they can find a way in, they do it. You and I both know it's junk science. All right. And you have this California condor zone where they first started no lead shooting for the condor zone in those areas, and they were saying what's happening is the condors were eating, all these animals, may have been birds to deer. They've been shot with lead, and they're ingesting it. Well, there is a little bit of science saying, okay, maybe. And what does it do? It doesn't so much kill the bird, but it makes their shells thin. And so sometimes when they're laying their eggs, it doesn't make it. It gets broken or whatever. That's their junk science saying this. But I would think they would have to eat a huge amount of pellets.
Eat a huge amount. Yeah, it just doesn't, again. And, I love animals. I'm a hunter.
Sure,
I love
yeah,
animals.
sure,
I love
absolutely.
wildlife. I love all that stuff. But, we don't have woolly mammoths anymore. We don't have saber-toothed tigers anymore. We don't have dinosaurs. Things just go away. It's not...
Right.
We are so insignificant in this whole measure. It's not us.
Yeah.
Quit trying to blame it on us.
Right. It just seems that you don't get the other side of the science. You get the junk crap, but you don't get the other side of it.
You heard they want to reintroduce wolves into Northern California.
Yeah.
You heard that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that ought to be interesting.
Yeah.
Huh?
Have you? I've talked to. I haven't talked to them personally. I've met with some of my peers that have talked to sheriffs and other people in Arizona. I think it's Arizona or New Mexico where they have introduced the wolves, and the wolves are doing quite well.
Mm-hmm.
Eating a lot of livestock,
Mm-hmm.
eating a lot of stuff.
Right.
And the thing that really just blew me away was in one of these areas, the wolves have become so prolific that children waiting for buses, their bus stops are cages, so the wolves can't get to them.
That's an awful lot of
backwards.
wolves. That's for sure. That's backwards.
That's backwards.
It's like the mountain lion. I mean,
can't believe it.
We can't hunt mountain lion in
Can't hunt mountain
California.
lions. Can't hunt bears with hounds anymore.
Yeah, can't hunt bears with dogs anymore. I mean, it's just like it's gone crazy.
Where are we going?
I don't know. Have you gotten a chance to meet the new forest supervisor? His name's Lawrence.
I have.
Lawrence
Crabtree.
Crabtree,
And
yeah.
I'm very, very pleased.
Yeah, he made the El Dorado Run and Gun Club meeting on Monday and introduced
Really?
himself afterwards. After we pounded on his guys a little bit again, but very nice.
Well, his guys, the law enforcement side, that's not his guys.
Not his guys. No, I know. So he did come, and he's going to come to the next meeting and introduce himself. And I said, we'd love to, meet you and get the people to know you.
He gets it. He understands it. He's doing all the right things. He's saying all the right things. And again, he's doing all the right things.
Right.
Actually have I'll be spending all day with him on Friday. We're going up to look at the 18 of the 24 roads that remain closed that they are working on mitigation to get open. He's a good guy, and he's really taken the bull by the horns. He's helped me a lot with even though that's not his side of the house.
Right.
And he's quite honestly sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. But God bless him for doing it.
Yeah.
He's really helping me a lot on that side of the house with the issues that I had.
Right.
But one of the most important things we got a caller.
Yeah, let's get a caller. Hi, you're on with Rob and John DiAgostino.
Hello?
Hi, make sure your computer
I
speakers
have a
are
couple
turned
of
off.
questions for John.
Okay, make sure your computer speakers are turned off.
Quite honestly, sticking his nose where it doesn't belong, but God bless him for doing it.
Turn your
Turn your
computer
computer
speakers
down.
off.
There you go.
All right.
What's that?
Well, we needed you to turn your computer speakers off. So thank you for calling. And what's your first name?
Dennis.
Dennis. So you got the sheriff with you. What do you want to ask?
I have a couple of questions. One has to do with legally transporting firearms, and I understand that you can transport them for legal purpose if they're carried in a proper way and locked in the trunk of your car and so forth. What I'm curious about is, I've heard that a legal purpose is going hunting or to the firing range, but there are instances when you may want to transport a gun some distance that doesn't involve hunting or an immediate plan to shoot, but you're going to the southern part of the state. You think you may want to do some shooting with a friend when you get there. How do you deal with that? Are you at risk if you're not heading directly to a hunting ground or to a specific firing range when you're transporting an arm that you'd be doing in an otherwise legal fashion?
Well, first of all, are we talking a concealable firearm or are we talking long guns?
Well, I was thinking about both. One might be an unregistered handgun, but a long gun as well.
If it's a concealable firearm, such as a handgun, in order to transport it, if you don't have a concealed weapons license, concealed carry license, you have to carry it in a locked, secure container.
Hard-sided
Container. And the ammunition has to be...
It can be in the same case, but it cannot be in... if you have a magazine, the magazine can be loaded, but it must not be in the magazine well.
Right. But it has to be in a locked container. If it's a long arm, a rifle, or a shotgun, as long as it's not loaded and the ammunition is not in it, or right with it, you're fine. Until
January 1. Okay, then once January 1 comes, you have to carry those long guns just exactly like you do your handguns. Must be in a hard-sided, lockable container. Right. And I think, and let me address this question a little bit also. I think the California Penal Code, the way it's worded, is really interesting. And I know some of the big cities have used this against people. The way it's stated is you may not carry that gun for self-defense or personal protection. In other words, even though you're complying with the law by carrying that gun in a locked, hard-sided case with either a combination lock, padlock, or any kind of lock, and you have it doesn't even have to be in the trunk of your car. If you are transporting it, it must be either for a purpose such as going to a range, going hunting, going to your buddy's house where you may shoot or not shoot. What the Penal Code states, though, is you cannot carry it for personal protection.
Okay, I think that pretty much clarifies it. So as long as it's not for personal protection, there's a world of other legal purposes for transporting it. You just want to show your friend a new firearm you purchased, and that would
that's fine.
Yeah. One other question, if you don't mind. If you're transporting a firearm legally within the state of California, maybe a concealed weapon with a concealed weapon permit, and you reach the border, you're going, and what are you recommending once you cross the state line? You lock it up in the trunk of your car. Is that
so?
Or do you have other rights or since you have a concealed carry issued in California?
Okay, I'm going to step back because we lost you for just a second, so I want to clarify your question. Your question is, what is the best method for transporting a firearm that is into another state?
Yeah, you're on vacation and you want to cross the state line into Oregon or Nevada or Arizona, and you've been and so you want to be safe once you cross the line as far as being in compliance with their laws.
As far as I know, and I don't know the other states' laws,
right.
But if you carry them in compliance with California state law in a locked container, hard-sided, secure locked container, as you would in California, you're going to be okay in the other states. Now, California doesn't have any reciprocity with any other states as far as it comes to concealed weapons carry. So if you're carrying a concealed firearm on your side or in the glove box, not in a locked container, across state lines, then you need to have that state's concealed weapons license.
That's correct.
In order to be legal.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, very good. Well, that was helpful. Appreciate your comments and your thoughts on that.
Well, thank you for calling. We really appreciate you calling and watching and taking part of the show.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the program.
Oh, good. Well, thank you very much, and we'll look forward to hearing from you again.
Righto.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dennis.
So yeah, those were good questions because
Yeah.
that's one of those things that people have to be aware of. And uh, hunting in other states, we've all had to do this numerous times. And the safest way, John, is just like you said, those firearms must be in a lockable, hard-sided container. And some states don't even want the ammunition to be in the same container. California is fine with that. So if you want to be really safe, you just keep your guns in a separate locked container and your ammunition in a separate box. And I don't think you'll run into any problems, particularly if it's hunting season. You know.
Now, so going back to Lawrence Crabtree.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
Good. And he has a very bold approach to our forest management.
Right.
Which is fantastic. On the heels of the rimfire, he's come out with a plan to basically quarter our forest with giant fuel breaks. We're not talking clear cuts, we're talking selective harvest to get the fires back on the ground so they don't run like they did in the rimfire.
Right.
Because it's just a matter of time before we have one of those
Right.
in El Dorado County.
Yeah.
But it's very bold. He's asking for anybody's help when it comes time to support him on this. This is huge. Really, really big. And once our forest is quartered, then take those quarters and quarter those, and start using our natural resource. Start bringing in those timber harvest permits
Exactly.
or receipts.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense.
Well, he totally understands who owns the forest. It's not him.
The people.
The people.
Absolutely.
And that's what's been missing for so many years. And I've already been told that there's been a number of roads that had been locked up are now open.
Yes, he's doing a great job. Like I said, he's doing all the right things. He's saying all the right things. I think we finally got somebody that gets it. He's going to need our help because my fear is that they might want to transfer him sometime.
Yeah.
Because he's doing
too
such
good.
a good job, you know. So we need to support this guy. I like him.
Good. Yeah. I didn't get a chance to talk to him very long, but it was very nice of him to come to the meeting. And like I said, the next meeting, he's going to come and talk a little bit. So
Good.
that'll be great. Yeah.
Good. I think you'll like what he has to say.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good thing for the cause. That's for sure. It's what we needed badly. How has have they changed the law enforcement staff up here?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
You know, it's right after I made that move in, it was effective July 22nd, where they no longer had state peace officer authority.
Right.
It seemed like, and I expected this, we had a little period of time in there where the attitude was, well, doesn't like what we do with state law, let's see how he can handle us really enforcing the federal law.
Right.
By the book and hammering people. So we had some issues with that. Now, I've had a few meetings, very candid meetings with Scott Harris, who is the head guy out of the Vallejo office. He is our captain's boss.
Okay.
Frank Aguilar here in our office. I've had a few meetings with him. They've been very productive. And actually, in the last 30, 45 days, it's been crickets. I haven't heard anything.
Wow.
There's been a transfer or two. There's been some department meetings that they've had, kind of laying out some expectations, so to speak. And it appears that maybe we're starting to get on the right track.
I understand that one of the individuals who's causing a lot of the problems has been transferred.
That's what I understand.
So that might be a good thing. We got to get people to understand. You know, you and I talked just briefly before the show a little bit about the them versus us mentality that sometimes happens with law enforcement. And you know, I love your deputies, and what's nice is I'm not afraid to wave at them and say hi and everything. And that wasn't the case for a long time, and I certainly wouldn't do it in a big city. Because there's some things that these guys do that you just don't even want to, you know, don't even look at me, please. You know, I want to go by. So, you know, I'm happy to see the fact that, you know, in El Dorado County, we're doing a pretty good job, I think.
The right way to do it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I brought that up at a meeting we had, not with a bunch of retired Forest Service personnel and some current Forest Service personnel. when this was really heading out, coming to a head, and one of the things that amazed me, you just kind of touched on it, was I can get deputies out of an academy, out of a law enforcement academy.
Mm-hmm.
They get their LEOs out of an academy. We both put them to work. They get basically the same training, the same style, manner, whatever. But yet I can end up with one product, and they end up with one product. I hate to reduce a deputy to that term of product, but you have two totally separate products with the same basic type of training. Why? What is the issue here? What are we doing wrong?
Right.
Where is is it an accountability issue? Is it a training issue? Is it a I don't know. I don't understand that. I don't understand how you can end up.
Can
with
that happen? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have had throughout the last 25 some years an opportunity to see and be at a couple of different training facilities, Department of Corrections, Sacramento Sheriff's Department, and CHP. And it's been my observation that there just seems to be a different philosophy at each of these academies and a different attitude. I was just at the CHP Academy less than a month ago, and I find the attitude almost frightening there. I mean, these guys are great. They do a wonderful job. But, man, I feel this us against you mentality there. And it bothered me a little bit. It really did. It was the first time I've ever been to an academy where I felt a little bothered by the attitude. And it was expressed by others that were there with me as well. Those guys do a great job. I'm not knocking them at all. And they put on a wonderful presentation of their driving skills for us and all that was neat. But when we got talking about classroom and attitude, things changed a little bit. And it just my observation. And that may be part of what we're seeing, the differences in training facilities. There's obviously a huge difference at corrections because they train for a whole different thing.
Right.
And the Sheriff's Academy, again, is also a little bit different. I mean, each one's set up a little bit different. So, but it was just my experience with them.
That's concerning.
Yeah, it bothers me a little bit. And CHP, like I said, they do a wonderful job. They do their job, but sometimes I worry about how they do it. I get reports from people all the time where it sounds like, and I'm not there, and it's secondhand, and I don't know if these people have copped an attitude or not, because, the minute you get an idiot that's got an attitude on him, you're going to treat him totally different.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you should, But I know of a personal case of a person who's an absolute dear, would never yell at anybody, that was just brought to tears by an officer for absolutely no reason.
And it was here in this county?
Here in this county.
Our office, the CHP office that we have, was Lieutenant Chuck King. Now it's Lieutenant Craig Root.
Okay.
They're very open to hear issues such as that.
Right.
They want to hear that. They want to know that.
Well, I asked, and it was a female, I asked her, I said, why don't you call the office and just explain what happened? And, she's scared to death. She's literally scared to death. She says, no, it's going to make me a target, and I'm not going to call. And it's sad.
That is sad. That is sad because we don't need that. We don't need that as a law enforcement community. And like I said, they're good and they're open here.
Right.
That was one of the very pleasant things I found after I was sworn in and started building those relationships and meeting folks. At any time, I could call Chuck and now Craig and say, hey, we got a problem. I'm getting phone calls about traffic on such and such a road, high speeders or whatever,
right.
And they're right on it. I've had a couple issues, not so much with Craig yet, but when Chuck was sitting in the seat, a couple complaints such as that. Said, hey, this is the number, this is who called me, this is what their complaint is. You might want to give them a call and see what's going on. And they have. I've later run into the person that talked to me and said, hey, thank you very much for doing that. We resolved the issue. But they are, as far as I can tell so far, they really want to work with the community and are community oriented, much like we are in our office.
Well, I may talk to you offline about this a little bit more and see if we can address it, because it is just disturbing, because I know this person very well and they wouldn't do anything like that. So, but it happens, and maybe he was having a bad day, but you know what? even if he's having a bad day, he's not supposed to rub that against
we
a
don't
person.
get to have bad days.
You don't get to. I got another story that I'll trade with you offline that happened almost 30 years ago to me. Hey, did you hear about this incident that happened in New Mexico? And I'm laughing, and I shouldn't laugh, but I'll read you the headlines. Cops subject man to rectal searches, enemas, and a colonoscopy in a futile effort to find drugs they swear he was hiding. Did you hear anything about that story?
You know, I've just read a few things about it. I don't really have a comment on it other than there's either a lot more to that story?
Yeah.
Or this was totally wrong.
Well, what was interesting about the story is I was reading it. I've read a couple stories, and they've been pretty much all the same. They took him to a hospital. They took him to one hospital and told the hospital what they wanted to do. They wanted to give him an enema, and they wanted to, see what the heck he keistered. First hospital absolutely refused. That's totally wrong. That's a violation of Fourth Amendment. If you're going to do this, you better damn well get me a court order. And and so they went to another hospital, found another doctor that either was scared by them or whatever, and actually did this. And they according to the article, they did 3 enemas on this guy, an X-ray and a colonoscopy, found nothing. He did nothing wrong. Oh, and the topper on it is he got the bill from the hospital for all these procedures. So, sometimes you get law enforcement that just gets a little out of hand, you think?
Oh, absolutely.
It happens.
Absolutely.
They're humans.
All over this nation.
Yeah.
There's things that happen that are violations that should not be tolerated. Hopefully they are not tolerated.
Yeah.
But again, I'm going to hold judgment until
if it's
more to
factored
the story, because I don't believe the media.
Yeah, well, and except for Old Guy Tech TV, you believe us, but
okay. I'm sorry, I didn't want to lump you in that.
It's because we try to vet our stories, and that's why I just thought I'd bring that up. Make sure
I have said things not through Old Guy Tech, but I have given statements, and they've literally pieced the words together.
Oh, I know.
Take 5 seconds out of a 20-minute interview and make you look like an idiot.
The old out of context situation where they just take what they want, and it's not fair. And we never do that here. We try to get right to
we
the
get the
story.
whole show.
Yeah.
Jonathan doesn't even edit stuff out.
Yeah. Nope. Doing good. We're doing really good. Well, anyway, I thought that was interesting. I was hoping we were going to have some more callers. Let me ask you this question too, and we've got down to the schools issue, and I want to address this so-called zero tolerance policy that some of the schools, and it seems to be the majority of them are back east, that have gone so far as suspending children for, like there was this little boy that was drawing his Halloween costume. What he wanted to be for Halloween. He wanted to be a zombie killer, and of course it had a gun in it. And this poor little kid was actually suspended from school for drawing this picture. There was another report of a child just using his finger like we used to do as kids playing cowboys and Indians, and he was suspended from school. I don't know about you, but we've gone so out of control.
Well, that's why
situation.
we've talked about on this show how important it is to elect the right people to the right positions, and especially in local government and school boards.
And school boards.
That's
right.
I mean, that's a huge thing. Where's the school board on this? Who's setting the policy? Who's setting the direction? Should be the school board. And they should be, if you got the right people, standing up for this stuff. Mm-hmm. If they are electing folks that believe in this kind of direction, then they get what they voted in.
But they voted what they
voted in.
I'm glad you said that, because I'm gonna look into this a little bit more and see if I can't get a hold of somebody from one of these school boards and actually talk about it. I mean, did you set up a zero policy? Folks, for those who don't know, it means they don't tolerate anything that has to do with a weapon. And at all, even a drawing, like this poor little boy that was just drawing a picture or playing with a finger.
Or the kid who got suspended from school for playing in his front yard.
And there's there's another issue. They've gone as far as a couple of kids playing at home.
Yeah,
Now that's overstepped the bounds completely. I think.
A little short story. When my oldest daughter was in grammar school, in elementary school, she was asked to write a little paper, third, fourth grade or whatever, when they were just starting to really be able to put stuff together in sentences and make a story. Write a story on a hero, and of course, kids wrote on Superman and Spider-Man. Well, she wrote a paper on Jesus, and it was rejected.
Oh, you got to be kidding!
No, that wasn't. We fought it. We went and said, no, this is wrong. They finally accepted it, but that's our education system. And if somebody wouldn't have stepped up, they would have got away with it,
It's also like there are schools that do not do the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. I know you and I did the Pledge of Allegiance every morning.
Every morning.
And now there's schools that won't do it any longer. I have a flag in every one of my offices. There's schools that don't even have flags. Our own president will appear at places without a flag. Where are we going in this country with this stuff?
Allegiance after elementary school. I don't remember doing it in middle school or high school.
Really? So Jonathan was talking about it during his, about 15 years ago or so, he didn't even do it. See, I don't understand this.
No.
Now, these people that want the under God thing taken out. So under God was added into the Pledge of Allegiance in the 50s. But I believe that it is what it is, and we should be doing this. And I have so many problems with issues of military not teaching their people what the difference between right and wrong is, what laws they can obey and not obey. Posse comitatus. A whole issue. I think we're going down a dark hole here where our country is going, where they forgot what our country is all about between doing your Pledge of Allegiance every morning, flying your flag, being a proud American, and that flag represents you, and the whole gambit. I am very concerned about where we're going in this country with these things.
As am I.
And your story is excellent. The school rejected a story on Jesus. What? That's really sad, folks. John's right. We really got to make sure that we pick the right people for our school boards, and that we check on different policies, and we make sure that things are done right. So, hey, we had a great hour. Thank you for the caller. Next time, maybe more of you guys will call in. Make sure that we have John's schedule. We know sometimes in December we're going to have to change our December date, so watch for those emails. We'll have a different date on it. John, I want to make sure I wish you I won't see you again until Thanksgiving, so have a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope everything's great. Thank you, folks, for watching Old Guy Tech TV and joining John DeAgostini, Sheriff of El Dorado County, and I'm Rob Charney with Old Guy TV. We'll see you next time. Thanks. So they really did reject that.